Hello, everyone. Welcome to the very first episode of Gutter to Gutter TV. I am one of your hosts, Heath Killeen, also known as Static. I'm joined by my good friend, Tony Bishop. Tony, how the hell are you, dude?
Howdy, friends. Tony B in the house. Going great, thank you. It's I'm in my home workshop thing that I've got going on here. So feeling good because I got a bit of car work done today, but I guess we can talk about that shortly.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. So the premise of this show, are we going to call it a show? It's a show, right?
Yeah.
So the premise of this show is we are trying to, I guess, consolidate. We're trying to wrap up the Australian drift scene as a whole into this weird little ball that we can throw at you guys, and you can check it all out and be caught up and kept up to date with everything that's going on in Australian drift as a whole, right?
And then world global domination takeover. No, let's just stick with the things that we can actually work on for now. So yeah, no, just Aussie drifting, I think, needs a little bit more of a light shone on the whole thing. You know, I guess there's a lot of drivers that put a lot of effort into their own stuff. The categories themselves do their own stuff, but there's not really that one place, like you said, a nice ball that we can and allow everyone to enjoy. So yeah, this was a really cool idea. I love it.
I think it's a great idea because I don't know about yourself. I've looked online and, especially sort of getting into doing this, looking online and trying to find things is so difficult at the moment with all the different clubs and organisations that are doing drift right across Australia. It's hard for anyone to keep up. So I think it's a really cool idea to sort of bring this to people so that they've got a one-stop shop of goodness and knowing where everything's happening and coming from.
And I think what you've done with the podcast on its own in audio format, I listen to them while I'm driving around from work. That's really cool. I think a lot of people do that. They'll listen to the podcast at different times, when they're active or whatever. But then there's a YouTube element where, if you're in the shed and you flick the TV on, you want to have, something playing in the background or something you want to watch. I think that YouTube element of what we're going to do really gives us another platform to talk in. So we'll leverage off the back of who you've chatted to over the years in the podcast. We'll try and get some video content around those sort of people as well, and a whole bunch of new people too. So yeah, it's just expanding it out even further.
Yeah. So I guess what you guys can expect as viewers is not so much of a podcast, not so much of a back and forth like we're doing right now. You're going to be able to see interviews with drivers, all sorts of stuff from the track days, different events, all sorts of really cool stuff.
I think as well, there's a number of businesses that sponsor, support people, shine a bit of light on those guys. There's companies that build cool products that everyone's using. I've got some that are all spread all over my bench here. Technical sort of stuff really helps out as well. It's like, you might Google or search things and like, how do you set up something? And, maybe we can do videos on that as well. It's really is endless. By the time you add in people, teams, products, businesses, you've got infinite amounts of content. So I think it's cool.
Absolutely. And I guess on that content side of things as well, media guys and girls, we want to get we want to get in contact with them and talk to them about what it is that they do, because they are the thankless people that work endless hours to bring you amazing content that you guys love to watch. So yeah.
I mean, the amount of time I've seen, a photographer's watermark at the bottom of a picture, and I go, that picture's sick, but like, you can message them online and you can sort of start a dialogue that way. But hey, I want to talk to those people and why are they out there in the freezing cold, boiling hot, getting sunburnt? Why are they taking photos of drifters? And give them a voice as well and allow them to sell their programs and go, hey, this is a place where we can talk about, I'm a couple of $100 and I can do this and this. And maybe that's a way for drivers to connect with media people. It just all goes hand in hand. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Good vibe.
For sure, for sure. So I guess everything we've just discovered, we've just discovered everything we've just covered, right? We've kind of wrapped up the pilot episode. If anybody's watched that, we've kind of just wrapped all of that up now into the start of this episode. So I guess what that means is we're going to go right now. We're going to head over and we're going to cover the October events, things that happen in October.
Absolutely.
That were really cool, man. Coming into this last part of the year, it's insane. There's so much going on.
Well, I guess we started doing this and we've started to go to a few events even before that, in August and September as well. But I guess October is the closest month that we've just come out of. Obviously, it's November now. There was a whole bunch of things on, but yeah, the whole back half of this year so far, and it's only just the start of November, there's been so much that's happened. A bunch of drifting SA rounds, a bunch of Keep It Reef Friday night drifts, and their Battle Royale series is wrapped up. That was back in August. You come into September, there's World Time Attack at Sydney Motorsport Park. There was Rev GP, ISD down in Tassie that I was lucky to get to. So we'll cover backwards a little bit on those, but I guess the closest stuff that's just finished is October. So yeah, what was the 1st of October was something in Sydney. So I don't know, did you get to that one or did you just see that one online, the Wet Pan Warriors round 3?
Man, that seems like months ago now. Wow.
Yeah,
I just thinking back, I cannot remember if I actually went to that one or I was at round 2 and I caught that one online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess because it's a Sydney thing and you're based in Sydney, I'm based in Melbourne. What is a Wet Pan Warriors type of event? Maybe not necessarily that one in particular, but what have you seen at previous Wet Pan Warrior events and how's it structured? What part of the track do they use? How many entrants do they normally get roughly?
So they use the wet skid pan at Sydney Motorsport Park. They'll set up a particular layout with cones across the wet pan. And it's essentially it's a bit of a grassroots sort of deal, but you will get some comp drifters in there as well. Like guys like Kieran Rackleft has joined in on a couple of them. So you do get some really good drivers there. And that's not to put down the grassroots drivers. There's some amazing driving going on in these events. Really cool events.
So that's managed by, I think on my list here, it's managed by Australian Drift Club. Is that right? AusDC. So they put out, I guess they're on the normal socials, but if you wanted to enter that type of event at Sydney Motorsport Park, like how do you get in contact with the AusDC guys? Is that all just through Facebook, I suppose? Yeah,
Facebook, Instagram, and check out their website, which is, I'm pretty sure it's just australiandriftclub.com.au.
And it seems like they've been doing a few more things lately. They're getting, I guess, the Wet Pan Warriors stuff. Aren't they? They've got the Super Drift series as well. That was something else that happened a bit further down the month. I guess we'll touch on that as well. Or we can go straight into that, actually. I guess while we're talking about the Australian Drift Club, they've got the Wet Pan Warriors as a thing, like as a grassroots sort of entry-level thing, but then the Super Drift round. So you've helped out, or you've worked at the Super Drift rounds, helping them with content as well?
Yeah, so what's
the difference between the two?
So I managed to help out with Super Drift, and that was run on South Circuit. I helped out with round 1. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get to round 2. I don't remember why now, but something was going on. I had something going on. Yep. Unfortunately, I'm not able to get to round 3 at later on this month either. But I was able to help out with their live stream and all that sort of gear, which was really, really cool. I got to see essentially what the judges see, which is very interesting. You know what I mean? Like they don't get to see the whole lot of the track. They like on that layout. They didn't get to see the first initiation, so it was very difficult.
Yeah, right.
It was very difficult to for them to judge, and then be held accountable for that. You know what I mean? So,
okay,
yeah.
Okay, so what I guess they've done. So that was round 2 that happened this month. Round 3 is next month. So is that all they've done this year, like a 3-round series? Because they're really just developing it, right? Like they've just sort of started it and they're sort of building it up. Yeah,
that's right. So I believe they tried to kick it off last year, and each round kind of rained on them. So it was a really difficult sort of setup. But they've managed to kick it off this year. They've had some good weather, some really good driving, some unreal driving at the first round. I didn't catch the second round, unfortunately. but yeah, I know that there was some amazing driving, and it's really cool to see what they're putting together, especially now that we're allowed back on the main track at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Amazing. I know that there's been back and forward a little bit over the last however long about just different things like normal motorsport politics. But great that I guess that's been sort of resolved and they're able to go out and use the main circuit, not just the wet pan. So it seems like, the Oz Drift Club, Oz DC, running wet pan events on the skid pan and actual track events as well. It's giving the people of New South Wales and Sydney and sort of Newcastle, I suppose, and Canberra, maybe the Canberra people probably come up for it. It's giving people in that region something to go to, because there wasn't a whole lot at the start of the year or even sort of towards the end of last year. And the situation in New South Wales in the drift community was a bit dire. There was quite a few people that were just itching for somewhere to drive. So good on those guys at Australian Drift Club for getting that happening. So check them out, I suppose. So that'd be our first shout out to those guys. So Australian Drift Club on all the normal socials, so Facebook, Insta, and Google them and see if there's a website. If you love what they do, you've been to their event, if you can leave them a Google review or a Facebook review or something like that, if you enjoy it, if you've got any feedback, they would love that. If you've got any feedback for them and you want to drop it right here, we'll share it with them as well, because we contact those guys and work with them as well. So,
yeah, absolutely. So I guess moving on from that, we had the Drift Cadet Sunday sessions.
Yes.
Featuring Noriaro.
So someone else might have been able to drive at that one.
I did hear this.
Hey! So I guess I spent a lot of time going to events, having a lot of fun at events, and I'm always sitting there going, I want to be driving. That was so Pete and Lynn from Drift Cadet asked if I could come along and help them with some presenting and just help out on the day a little bit. And then still be able to drive as well. So that's what I did, which was really, really cool. So the Drift Cadet Sunday sessions is a chance for, they'll try and get in a guest from overseas. So this particular one was Alexi. So Noriaro, originally Australian, now Japanese. We call him Japanese now. He may as well. He's lived there long enough. Again, does a lot of really awesome Japanese content in the drifting space and just Japanese car culture and all that sort of stuff. So Noriaro on YouTube, check him out if you don't already. But he came over. So he came over from Japan, and the Drift Cadet guys gave him the VE Drift Ute to drive, which was hilarious because it's not really the type of car that he would normally drive. But yeah, he was taking people for passenger rides in the MMP / Drift Cadet Drift Ute. And it was just a bit weird because, he's driving a VE V8 powered ute, which is not normal, and then he's taking people for passenger rides too, which was very, very cool. There was probably 40 drivers on the day. A lot of the same people that like coming back to the Drift Cadet events because it's it's a fun. They love the JDM style of the type of event. So, people spend all their time making their cars look pretty and having cool gangster wheels and everything that goes with it. It's a really cool drift event from that perspective. But they also have car shows. So there was a lot of people with a lot of cool JDM cars that came along as well. At the lunchtime. Of course. Going 50 miles ahead because I was there and there was a lot that happened. In the morning, we run the layout that we were running in one direction, which was the national circuit at Calder Park. Coming into the last corner, which is the wall ride corner, we were running it that direction in the morning. And then at lunchtime, we switched it around and we were starting from that wall ride and then driving the opposite way down the track. So 2 different layouts on the day, which was very cool. So, 1 day's worth of drifting, you feel like you're driving 2 different tracks, which was amazing. So the morning session was one way, the afternoon session was the other way. There was probably 40 cars at lunchtime. We got all the show and shine cars out onto the track, all the drift cars that could get out there that weren't fixing things or whatever. And we had this massive sort of cruise, and we did a cruise driving lap of the track. So everyone that had their show cars got to come for a drive on the track as well, which was very cool. The boys were hanging out of the side of cars with cameras and stuff, capturing all the content, which was really cool. So the Sunday sessions is such a sick vibe because it's not a competition thing. It's just fun, spectators sitting there watching, cool driving, usually an international guest that'll do signatures. People had like engine covers and all sorts of random stuff, and Alexi was signing them, which was very cool. So highly recommend the Drift Cadet crew for the Sunday sessions. I got to catch up with them on the weekend just gone, or what day is it today? Yesterday, I caught up with Pete and Lynn for Drift Cadet, and they're certainly firing up their calendar for next year with all the usual Summer Nats, Rocky Nats, Motor X, and then a whole bunch of other events that they're going to do next year. But we'll come to that when it's time. So there you go. And I got to drive my car, so that was pretty cool. So I took my 350Z that I just got off one of the other drifters from Victoria, Benny. So I bought that car from him, and I just thought I'll take it out for a fun day while I'm still building this one. And yeah, it was cool. I just used 20 litres of fuel and 4 tyres all day, and I was just doing lap after lap, having the best fun. Every time I came past the pit line, pit exit, I'm just like clapping. I'm like, yeah, I'm back drifting, which is great. So I had such a good time.
That's so good, man. It was really cool to see you out there drifting as well.
Yeah, I talk about it so much. I'm like, I may as well actually have a go, right? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, nice. So what do we have next up, mate?
So we come down the list a little bit, and it looks like Drifting South Australia. So Drifting SA had a drift night at Malala. Didn't get a chance to find out a lot about that event, but they do run them pretty regularly. So the Malala track will run the actual drift nights in South Australia. Malala was about an hour north of Adelaide, I think. Maybe less than an hour north of Adelaide. I know it's north. Or maybe less than an hour. Like, it's reasonably close. So Malala was certainly the main place that people went drifting in South Australia for a long time, until the Bend was built and until JDM X Park was a thing. So, James is running X Park, which is about, I think, 3 hours north of Adelaide. But that's such a cool party vibe, and I'm really keen to go up there and check that out. But yeah, Malala run the practice drift nights, no competition rounds, just fun driving. And the Drifting SA crew put on a lot of events during the year. So I guess check them out on socials. I follow them on Facebook and Instagram as well, because I want to see when all their dates are. Because I guess with all the work that I do in Victoria, generally with the rounds and whatever that I do, I actually want to go to South Australia and drive, because there's some of the coolest drivers, some of the most epic battles with those guys. So I probably need to do a bit more practice before I go there. But yeah, check out Drifting SA. Certainly they're worth checking out too.
Absolutely. It's definitely, speaking to drifters on the podcast, South Australian drifters get the biggest rap.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah. Well, I guess I started in 2003, and there was already people in South Australia that were already really well established. It's like people from South Australia, for whatever reason, they got on the whole drifting thing really early. I mean, you've got the likes of Christian Pickering, Corporal, who does all the Origin Lab body kits and bits and pieces. There was D1 Garage, I remember, was one of the first teams that had, in 2004, 2005, they had, Bright Red 180, Trent Hewitson, who's Checker Tuning, that lives here in Melbourne now. He had the Bright Red 180, and then Danny Vahumas had a 14 with an S15 front with, I think it was like the KFs, or they must be VSKFs, just slammed with dish. And I'm like, these cars are full on Jap style cars, and they were the first that I saw that I was like, oh my God, this is so sick. And that was back in 03, 04. For whatever reason, it was like the South Australians just cottoned onto it way quicker.
So I guess while we're in South Australia, you mentioned JDM X Park. They had a drift day, the 14th and 15th of October, I believe it was.
Yeah, so my understanding, I saw James on the weekend, and, I said to him, I'm keen to come up to X Park and spend a weekend and do the whole camping at the track and just driving and just that fun environment. But I'm not sure. I wasn't sure really his calendar of dates and when he's there and how much it costs. So I actually challenged him a little bit on the weekend. I've gone, I I know you're there, but I don't know what else is there. I don't know what times or money or whatever else. So, hopefully he goes away and sort of makes it easy for us drifters that are busy and have no attention span, and we forget things very easily. But yeah, he had a weekend, which was the 14th and 15th of October. And I think it's real cheap, like, because it's his own private track. It's not crazy money. And yeah, you can just go there and drive for hours and hours until you're bored. Like, I think most people say that you run out of tires, you run out of fuel, you're tired, and you're just exhausted from too much driving. So yeah, absolutely keen to go and check out X Park. It looks like a really cool vibe.
Yeah, it sounds good. I know James has quoted it as the cheapest drifting you'll do in Australia, and to hear that you get that much track time for the price that he charges is pretty good.
And I think we go to all these tracks around Australia. So I mean, even in Victoria or New South Wales or whatever, they're all traditionally circuit racing tracks that we're trying to use for drifting. And you don't really need a massive amount of land to make a drift track work. And when you look at all the drift tracks in Japan, you can sort of see that. They use space a lot better. The tracks usually wrap back onto themselves. It's a smaller area, and everyone has an absolute ball driving them. You don't need this massive acreage with, I mean, fourth gear corners are pretty cool, like fourth gear straights and massive entries. That's cool too. But you can make a drift track out of something that's pretty humble or pretty small. And it can be a hell of a lot of fun. And he changes the layouts as the day goes on. It's like someone leads and you're leading the layout. And yeah, it just looks great. Certainly very keen. JDMX Park, again, I know he's on social, so he's across Facebook, and I'm pretty sure he's on Insta as well. But yeah, he's a couple of hours, I think 3 hours north of Adelaide. So yeah, pretty cool.
Nice, man. Now the next one, that's the kind of overshadowing one of the whole month. You and I both got together there, which is really cool. We got to go and speak to drivers and all sorts of people, which was unreal. LZ World Tour at Calder Park. How amazing was that?
So I guess when they announced that the LZ World Tour was coming to Australia, I think it was either May or June. It was earlier in the year. And we were at, I don't know, I think I was at the High Tech Drift event. And as soon as I saw it land, I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be the biggest drift event ever. With all those international YouTube personalities, the trajectory that Keep It Reats on with, growing their business and having the internationals. I'm like, this is just going to collide into a weekend of just epic drifting. And it absolutely was that. So it was probably the most amount of people we've had at Calder Park for a standalone drift event, which was pretty awesome. I don't know the numbers, but when you sat back and looked at the crowd, it was pretty impressive. From when you walk in the gate, they had all the usual sort of stuff. So there was a bunch of show cars sort of parked in the I'm not going to say foyer, that's not the right, but where you walk in, the pits were closed off to the public, which is probably the only thing that some people like, like every other drift event, it's open. But could you imagine 5,000 people all swamping around LZ and all those guys? Like, you just can't do that. They'd never get anything done. So having the pits blocked off was kind of sucked a little bit, but then, it allowed the people to be on track and because you'd just not get anything done if it was open. What else did they have? Oh, all the vendors, like all the trade stand vendor area was really awesome. So it's a lot of bigger companies getting more involved with drifting. So I think that was really cool. The line for LZ's merch, I don't think ever stopped. And the Keep It Reat line was pretty epic too. So
that was insane to look at. That was ridiculous.
I guess it's a cool souvenir, right? Like you're buying the event merch at that event. It's not like they sell that merch any other time. It's for the Australian LZ World Tour. So once it's gone, it's gone. And if you don't get a t-shirt, I always buy, if I go to a music festival, I buy the music festival tour shirt, or I'll buy a Formula One shirt when I go to the F1. So it's no different. You're at the LZ World Tour. It's the only stop in the sort of Southern Hemisphere. Everything else was America, Canada, and Ireland. How huge! It was amazing. Driving was very cool. I think you had all the main draw cards I think it was certainly a content it was a content event. It wasn't necessarily, it was a competition round, but there was a control tire for all the drivers that was basically a street tire. So it's not like anyone over a certain horsepower just couldn't capitalize on the grip. So it was still fun to watch. It kind of leveled everyone out a fair bit, which was pretty cool. And that made for some pretty killer battles. There was a lot of people just going ham. And when you look at who won, or the podium, it was basically all the local drivers. They drove so awesome. Took down Mad Mike and LZ and all these FD drivers and everything else, because we've got a lot of really cool talent in Australia, which is great. And obviously got to give Cam Martin a bit of a shout out. We haven't stopped hearing that he won. No, he's been all right. He's been reasonably humble. But yeah, good on him, because he battled like an absolute trooper, as did everyone else that was at the event, but did really well. And Rob Arbolino coming back with the BMW, that thing is an animal. Oh my God. I can't wait to see more of that car. That's just phenomenal. The guy can drive. He's one of the OGs from years ago, and that BMW is wild. So very cool.
Yep. The one thing I loved.
What else did you take away from it? Yeah.
The one thing I loved about it was the fact that Aussies got to showcase their skills at an international level, right? Let's say a world-class event.
Yep.
They got to showcase their skills and got up on top.
Yep. Huge, mega.
Massive. Massive.
Cam Martin, no doubt, has sort of got the ball rolling for some other driving and other bits and pieces for his future. He's got a great future. I think he's 25. I'm nearly 40, and I've been fluffing around doing this for 20 years. He's been doing it for 5 or so. He's a young man, and so I think he's got a bit of support coming in from the event, which is very cool as well. And I certainly think he's got a pretty good future in it. We'll just see what happens. So, no, very cool. Typical Calder Park, in not so typical form. The Friday, which was the media day when everyone got the practice laps and everything else, was 30 degrees. It was an absolutely spectacular Melbourne day. Saturday was, I'd say, equally as good. It was 22 degrees, sunny. You could just sit back and watch, and it was just a beautiful day. And then in true typical Melbourne Calder Park form, the rain and the wind and the cold and the ick that people have about Melbourne came in on the Sunday, and it was a bit of a mission. The crowd numbers were certainly down a little bit on the Sunday because of the weather, but I think a lot of people just rugged up. When you looked around the whole crowd, the amount of black hoodies and jackets and everything, it's like everyone was just all wearing black, and they're all just rugged up with beanies and stuff. But a lot of dedicated drifting fans, which was very cool. Yeah, bring it on again. If they bring it back next year,
please,
that'd be sick.
Please,
I think,
it is. It's the.
Look at you got to keep coming back.
Yes, please. It's the event Australia has needed for a very long time.
Yeah. I think when you look at the event, Calder Park's a cool track. It's close to Melbourne. They let us pretty much do whatever we want there, within reason, obviously. But imagine an LZ World Tour maybe at Sydney Motorsport Park or Queensland Raceway, different sort of weather, different time of year. I think that'd be pretty cool as well. So maybe if they brought it back, they might go to another track. So we'll see what happens. But for the first one in Melbourne, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it was immense. It was big. If you missed it, sucks to be you.
Sucks to be you. You're probably seeing content online because there's been loads.
Yep.
But no, very, very cool.
Absolutely. So I guess to round out the month, we had D1WA Halloween Matsuri at Collie Raceway.
Yeah. Cool to bring in the theme of the normal sort of, end of October Halloween themed drift event. I think that's pretty cool. I haven't had a chance to catch up with anyone from WA to find out how that all went. So any of our WA drift fans that are watching this, I can see you down the lens there. If you can just send us a message or comment in this in the chat down below, tell us what it was about, how many people went, what was the vibe. Share with us the information. but D1WA, Drifting Western Australia, run a majority of the events over there. Yeah, I'm keen to go to WA at some point.
For sure. I love themed events. This kind of thing, like the Halloween Matsuri, this kind of thing is how you get things like Jenny the Drift Boat, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
How did that become a thing?
So it was a themed event that he went to. So for anyone that hasn't listened, I had an episode of the podcast with Brendan Tothero, who owns Jenny the Drift Boat. It's named Jenny after Jenny from Forrest Gump. Yeah, and it came about because of one of these types of events. So that's the sort of stuff that I'd love to see here in Australia for sure.
Yeah. Cool. I love it. Yeah, I think we should cotton on to different themes and different times of the year. I think that's pretty cool. But I love that.
Nice, man. And I guess we round out the month on the 28th with JDMX Park Drift Day again.
Yeah, so the same weekend. So D1WA were over in Collie Raceway doing their event. Same weekend, James had just an X-Park weekend on the 28th and 29th. So again, he's running I think 2 weekends a month, which is pretty good. That's pretty solid for a sole trader. One dude going out and keeping the place running for everyone to go and drive. So, certainly a big shout out to James. I want to certainly get over to his track and have a steer.
I guess with that, mate, we've rounded out the month. We'll get on over and take a word from our sponsors.
And thank you to the Rolling Tumbleweed / Mistress Nothing that happened in sponsorship land there. But in all seriousness, obviously, we've just started this out. If there's any people that want to support what we're doing with the show, if you can throw us a packet of chips, some minties, I'm all right with lollies or whatever. That'd be great. A product for us to review and maybe give away or whatever. That'd be really cool as well. Because I guess, we're just doing this in our spare time at the moment that we don't really have heaps of. But if we can make it more of a thing to keep bringing people content, that'd be great. So we appreciate you. Thank you if you're even considering. We love it.
I guess from here, mate, we'll jump into our person of interest, we shall call them.
Yeah. So our first persons of interest were, I guess, do we want to introduce them or just throw straight to the thing?
Let's throw straight to them. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Hello, mate.
How you going? Big Tony B.
Hello. So we're just what we're doing is we're doing a bit of a wrap-up TV show, not for World Time Attack in general, but we're just going to throw it out there gutter-to-gutter style. So we want it to be a relaxed, fun environment at a drift event, not so stiff. So you don't need to be stiff like I am hanging out with Ken Gucci and Daigo. How sick was that?
Nervous.
No, it was cool. I got to interview goal people in my life.
Yeah,
that was
idols.
so Hey! Oh, bloody listen here. Unacceptable. Trying to just talk shat.
He's got no respect for anyone.
He
doesn't give a shit.
No respect. My ears, man. How's your weekend?
Good.
Your weekend.
Yeah, weather's beautiful. Can't ask for much more.
Yep.
Busy doing lots of things for obviously Keep It Read.
Yeah, cool.
Organising things in the background.
Yeah.
Trying to support Jason, and I'm spotting today. So.
Ooh, spot. All right. So where do you get to sit as a spotter? You get to sit above or near the judges, right?
Yeah, as close to the judges as I can, so I can tell Jason what he's doing wrong. It's like I like to call it controlling a remote control car from the outside, and I tell Jason what he's doing wrong and what he's doing right.
That's cool. I haven't actually heard that being referred to that way. It's like you're seeing the car go like that, and I'm like, well, I'm just pretending like I'm doing things.
Well, Jason should be a good enough driver to take my input and make it happen, so then just basically controlling him, and then hopefully he does well in the qualifying.
So did a couple of laps yesterday. I think I was watching some Insta stories and stuff. Looked like it was chalk and tyres.
Yeah, she always talks. It's got 1,250 Newton meters of torque, so it's got plenty there. It's just about, we're having a few dramas at the moment. It's got a bit of a lag on the throttle as you come back on, so it's just about getting that torque to respond, basically, at the moment. It's not responding, so because it's not just coming back into the power. So we got the main man in the car right now, Trent.
Checker Tuning's in the house. So,
yeah. So if someone can fix it, it's Trent.
Now committed me to a fix.
Yeah.
If he can't fix it, we shan't get.
Pack her up, boys.
We'll just go out there and have a ball anyway.
It'll be
make it happen.
With that much power, the style, everything in the car, like we're here to have a good time, and I think heaps of people got signatures, and we're taking some posters. Like it's just a sick event.
Yeah, it's all about just growing the sport at the end of the day. So we'll go out there and chalk no matter what, and we'll get on the beers no matter what.
100%, absolutely. All right, well I'm gonna just jam this in, Jesse. Or maybe not. They're getting serious in there. Do you know what you're doing, mate, or what?
Absolutely zero idea, but we're having a bloody go, aren't we?
We're having a good time doing it, and that's what it's about. We'll leave you get to it. I won't hustle you anymore, but this is the machine. We're going to try and catch up with Jace a little bit. What do you mean formal?
I only talk.
Touching yourself?
Full professional. That's all I do. I don't mess around. I don't put 5 turbos on cars. I don't do anything like that.
So for people that may listen to Gutta Gutta podcast, or they've not seen the car before, obviously you gave us a bit of a rundown over there, but you said it was the most Aussie thing you could build. Like, look at it.
Just look at it.
Look at it.
Do I even have to explain it? It's the mum's shopping cart. Like, you know, many people's mumsies, if you're around my age, 30, maybe a bit older, your grandma might have driven it. It's just the go-getter, you know, just does it, does the job. A lot of them still going strong. But to make it a bit more reliable through the Barramundi, even more Aussie.
So you're saying RB30s are no good? Is that what you just said? No,
mate. All the other cars, a few of the other RB30s. 25, I don't know. Gonna get the max literage is the key.
There's no replacement for displacement, is what I've heard. That's like what all the V8 guy war cries are as soon as someone with boost goes past them, and then they just put turbos on their V8s and now we lose again. But anyway,
it's their only argument.
Yeah, you're right. But a Barra engine, it's built motor now, or built-ish, built motor.
Forged bottom end by the guys, Nick Bogart in NZ, absolute legend. Smashed it out in 1 week between rounds of D1 NZ. Full Nitto get up. In the bottom, V2 rods and whatever, I-beam rods, capable of over 1,000. Actually, I think it's actually capable of over 2,000. It's like overkill. Just what he had on the shelf. I was like, I'll just put that one in there. 2,000 horsepowers. That is sick. But we're just safe on the 900 horsepower.
Oh, just 900. Don't worry about it.
At 28 psi.
Right.
1,200 Newton meters at 3.6. I said before.
I love all the stats. Like the stats. I'm out. All right, we're in.
The car just wants to be part of the interview.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi there, nice to meet you.
It knows we're talking about it, so.
Give us some goss on the Keep It Read juggernaut that is going on behind the scenes. Like, give me some juicy goss.
There's always something going on, but I got something pretty bloody cool we're going to drop pretty soon.
Okay.
So we may have a new premises for Keep It Reet, which is probably one of the biggest things, and obviously the LZ World Tour coming out pretty soon. So by now we would have dropped all the drivers, Oz drivers, and all the guests that are coming. Obviously Mad Mike included, and that's going to be pretty cool. A lot of guys coming from the US over for that.
And like half of those guys have probably never been to Australia, right? Like,
no,
all of them have never, like maybe one or two of them. Yeah, that's sick.
Which is really cool.
Yeah. Mad, we love that. Oh, now we got a rev off going on over this side. Yeah,
bit of competition going on.
Rev
but
off. Toyota versus Ford.
There's some other cool stuff going down. We'll keep it more towards the end of the year and next year, which I can't drop yet. That's pretty exciting stuff, so you can wait for that one.
All right, cool. Well, thank you for the few minutes to be able to chat. We'll go and try and clean the earwax out and like try and get some audio back in our earballs. And we'll see you on track, bro. Love it. Keep it reet, boys. Back to you guys in the studio.
A massive thank you to Jason and the boys from Keep It Reet for taking time out of their very busy schedule and day. As you could see, they were dealing with some horrors. But thank you so much to those guys for taking their time out and spending a few minutes with us to chat about, I guess, their experience and how they were doing at World Time Attack.
It was a lot of fun catching up with them. And, we're trying to make this a bit lighthearted as well. We don't want it to be too stiff and rigid. And, we're having a bit of a laugh. And obviously, Jace was driving. The Barrow Wags was going all right. I think it was just a little bit of a hesitation on the electric throttle or something. But Trent from Checkered Tuning was in there playing with the ECU and getting that all sorted. Obviously, he had his crew there, Josh Rogers, who runs all the Keep It Reet events here in Victoria, and his main man, Jesse, both of those boys were on spanners and keeping the car running. So Josh does the spotting and Jesse does a lot of the mechanical and bits and pieces. So, yeah, really great to catch up with those guys. The weekend itself was mega. As you can imagine, it was such a huge drift event, tacked on to all of the crazy World Time Attack circuit racing insanity that goes on. So certainly an event to check out if that floats your boat, tickles your pickle, whatever you want to call it. But certainly World Time Attack is such an amazing event.
It is. World Time Attack is like top 5 of my events for the year, for sure.
I think I've been every year. I think I never went to when it was at Oran Park. It used to be called Super Lap before they turned it into the full World Time Attack event. It used to be called Super Lap and it was at Oran Park. Obviously, Oran Park doesn't exist anymore. It's a housing estate. But every year that they've had it at Sydney Motorsport Park, I've been there and it's such a cool vibe. And this year was back in September and it was mad. It was absolutely epic. That's 2 months. Wait, it's 2 months ago from now-ish.
That's 2 months ago. So in that time, we've had LZ World Tour. We've caught up with Jason again a little bit. I managed to get a little bit of a cheeky sort of tour of the new facility that he hinted at in the video we just watched.
Yes.
Top-notch facility. Amazing. Considering, you go right back to when he first got the factory unit that he started Keep It Reet in. It took him weeks to get just the logo on the wall with an overhead projector and a Sharpie. To see what he managed to get together in just a couple of weeks in that building is amazing. It's absolutely astonishing.
Yeah. It looks, I've only seen the online content. As it's funny, you're from Sydney and you've been down the road where they are, and I live here and I haven't even been there yet. So Jace, hook us up, bro. Give me a tour of the joint. But no, look, I'm sure they're going to have other events and other activations there. The guys have all got somewhere to work properly as well, because I think what they had before was they had a couple of little factories that they were renting, and they weren't really purpose-built. It was kind of disjointed, and you've got the media guys that need to do their editing. They need a quiet space to be able to sit there and do their work while the mechanical stuff's going on, while the promotional planning and everything else is going on. So in the other factories that they had, it was sort of 3 little factories, and yeah, the workflow was manageable, but the new place just looks absolutely awesome. Jason's got a bit of an adventure.
He does.
He's got a bit of an adventure. I don't know if he would have mentioned to you either at the factory or
he
spill
did.
the bean. What's he doing?
He's moving to the USA, the United States of Freedom.
Freedom. What's the? I can't think of what it's like. Bald eagles and like something. It's like
machine guns.
The freedoms. Yeah. It's like eagles and stuff.
He's moving to the land of bald eagles and machine guns.
Amazing.
Yep.
So yeah, Danny and Jace and the three boys are all packing up and moving to Beverly. I wish them all the best. I think that's cool. I guess the opportunity's there. There's lots of racetracks. There's lots of driving. There's lots of people that he can network with, and he's got a lot of mates now. I guess from the lead up to LZ, meeting LZ a few years ago, even to the network that he's built. Timing's right. All the rest of the Keep It Reet boys are going to stay here and continue running in events, or running all the normal events and all the promotional activity they do. Their calendar just dropped. If you haven't seen it, check out Keep It Reet across all the platforms. The calendar is enormous.
Insert calendar here.
I don't think we've got enough screen to get the whole calendar in because it's enormous. Really cool to have a lot of driving available in Victoria. Obviously, there's probably scope for them to branch out, but their home base is here. They know the tracks here. They're working really well on that. We've got Winton Raceway back, which is very cool. We haven't had Winton for over a year now, so they're running a couple of events at Winton. Very cool. I will certainly do whatever I can to drive those ones because Winton's such a cool road trip fun event. Like you can go there and camp or stay in the cabins at the leisure park or whatever, the tourist park, and it's always a good vibe. So they've got a championship thing that they're doing again. It's by the looks of it, it's still just a Victorian-based thing, which I think is manageable for the crew for now at least. So they've got a 3-round series in the warmer months in Victoria because I think the very, very cold months when it barely gets sunlight down here, they're a bit of a challenge to get people to come along to. 3-round series, which looks pretty cool.
Let's jump into what's happening next month, man.
Yeah, well, I guess, that's a bit of a wrap-up kind of what we've had going on, and there's a hell of a lot more content into it. And if you guys know what's going on in your state, if you're part of any of these clubs and you want to give us the info first so that we can then wrap you up and share all this stuff, that'll really help us out. We're going to do the best we can reporting on all this stuff. But what we've got coming up in November is something that just happened. Or a couple of things that have just happened. So, when we've recorded this, we wanted to touch on October and then talk to what's coming up in November, but it's just kind of happened. So we'll go into that a little bit. The weekend just gone in November was Revolution Motorsports, so Rev GP last round in Queensland. So they had a Queensland Raceway final round for the Rev GP crew. I didn't see who won that.
I did not see who won.
Should we stalk them while we're doing this?
Yeah. Let's do
anyway,
this.
so
Scooby-Doo, and we'll go.
We'll come back to it. Or we'll just talk over it and we'll come back to it after. We'll Google it. And so sorry, Rev GP guys, but Revolution Motorsport are the crew, also from New South Wales based, do a bit in Queensland. They were doing a little bit at Wakefield years ago. Wakefield's coming back. I don't know if you've seen about that, the rebranding from Wakefield. It used to be called Wakefield Motorsport. It's going to become... Oh, you've got the deets? Cool.
I do.
Wakefield's going to become... It's called now like One Raceway or something. And Rev used to do a bit of work there. So hopefully with the redevelopment going on at Wakefield or One Motorsport facility that maybe get a bit more Rev stuff going on because those guys are awesome too. So Revolution Motorsport, hit them on the socials, Facebook, Insta, all the fun things because they do a bunch of really cool events as well. So that was the final round at Queensland Raceway. Who were the peeps? So
the people were final round Rev GP winners. We had number 1 place was David Stankowski. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. I've not practice this at all. So number 2 spot we have Daniel Shelders. Again, hopefully I pronounced that right.
That's cool. Chops got second. Cool.
Number 3, Christopher Harrison.
Okay, cool.
And I guess rounding out the top 4 was AJ Johnson with season winner Brendan Bennett.
Yeah, cool. Oh, yeah, Brendan Bennett. All right, so he's entered. I think he's done. Where have I hung out with him? Maybe he drove a high-tech round. Maybe I saw him. He's got a 180, grey 180 with graphics and stuff up the side. Very cool. Yeah. Another track that I haven't driven at that I absolutely want to. Queensland Raceway, the facilities there, Tony Quinn and his crew have gone and just turned it up to 11, repainting and put the sunshades on top of the pits, and the pit area is all nice, and it's just a really pretty place to go racing. Very keen to get up to Queensland. So, yeah, nice work for those guys. Very well done. And I guess in the same weekend, going on at the same time, was the final round of the High-Tech Series. So we've got the High-Tech Round 5, Drift All-Stars, where there's obviously a Pro category and a Pro-Am. So it was our final round. We had, I think there was 5 drivers in the Pro class that were all in contention for the championship. And there was about, I think, 3 of the drivers in Pro-Am were in contention as well. So it really did come down to the last round to see how well, people went to take out the championship. So the way they get championship points is their qualifying position at each round. So they get points for their qualifying position. So the idea is to qualify pretty well to get points. And then obviously points for the round wins or placing. And yeah, I think, we had Brody Marr was in contention. So he was last year's champion. He was close. James Abbott was very, very close. Roger Ianson was in it. Patrick Barley was in it. And I think Jordan Sanderson. So I think there was those 5 guys that were all possible winners of the championship coming into the final round. And when you just look at the name of people, Brody, Jabbett, Patrick Barley, Jordan, and Roger, they're all just epic drivers, epic cars. So it was really exciting. It was actually some really killer battles. The weather was fantastic. Didn't quite get enough spectators there. We're going to work on that a little bit. That's certainly a lot more of the focus for next year, is getting people to know what the High-Tech Series is all about, and to bring people out to it. So I guess we'll start with the Pro-Am. So I can see you've just been researching there, maybe who was successful in Pro-Am.
So what I'll do this time, I'll go fourth up, right? So in fourth in Pro-Am, we had Chris Dykes.
So quick story about that. Having car issues all morning, he's basically, I think he's Scott Shembry's employee. He works with him, and he wanted to get into drifting as well. And yeah, he's come along. He was having nothing but dramas. And then once he started getting the car sorted, that was the best result he's had all year. And phenomenal. Like, he just absolutely, such a vibe of a driver. I loved it.
Nice, man.
He was happy to come forth, really. Everyone wants to win, but he was having a sick time.
No, that's good. That's awesome. Coming in third was Kobe Mashesky. So I had to ask him that, yes. Yep.
So Kobe's a Victorian driver. It's his first ever time entering High-Tech in Pro-Am. He normally drives at, the Keep It Read or the Vic Drift events down here in Melbourne. And he drove so well. He was so G'd up. He was so pumped to get third place. So he qualified in third place, and then he came third place on the day in his first ever sort of top level competition. So yeah, massive shout out to Kobe.
How good is that?
Drove really well.
That's so good, man.
Amazing.
Yep. Coming in at second was Kieran Rackleft. What a year he's had.
Yeah. Phenomenal. He's been one of the dominant forces. So there's been a few sort of 2 or 3 drivers in the Pro-Am category that we've just absolutely killing all year, going to every event, dragging the car around, bringing his team, from having mechanical gremlins a few years back to sort of working through that. He's got a reliable package now, and he was absolutely stoked to get the second on the day. We'll come back to that in a minute.
So coming in first was Jordan Sanderson.
Yeah, so Jordan Sanderson got the win. Obviously, it's his rookie year in High-Tech. Now, he's been driving a lot. He does a lot of laps in Victoria, does a lot of driving. And, they built a car that could do the Pro-Am category at High-Tech. That was his sort of, okay, we're going to compete. Let's go to the High-Tech category. Let's go into Pro-Am first, because we've got sort of an unusual chassis. A VE Ute, is not necessarily seen as such a competition car. It can still be, but it wasn't really seen that way to start with. So he's like, I'll just go into Pro-Am. And he drove so well that Zoo Performance were like, mate, you can take it with the best. You could take it to the best of them. We want you to enter both categories in your rookie year. So he ended up entering Pro class as well. So he's got a black VE Ute that's his Pro-Am car, and he's got a white VE Ute that's his Pro car. And yeah, got the round win, which was absolutely fantastic. Drove well, real solid competitor as well. So he gets his head screwed on right, and that's motorsport in the family. That really helps.
So much driving all year from that dude. It was amazing to watch. And man, he was just on fire all year. Where did he come from? That's so phenomenal, man.
I guess, yeah, having motorsport in the family, you get exposed to that lifestyle early on. His brother is heavily involved, and I know he's done other stuff as well. I think we've spoken to him in the past as well. I'm going to have to rehash my Jordan Sanderson information that I've got stored away in the back there. But certainly, I think karting as well. Like he's certainly had plenty of high octane history, and that really helps in just driving and just being a good bloke.
Yeah.
Being a real competitor though. Like I can see him. He's coming in with a new chassis next year. He gave us the goss at the track too. So
ooh, okay.
I mean, I'm allowed to spill the beans because he told everyone at the thing.
Okay, spill it. Let's hit it. With it.
Yeah, so he's doing a BMW chassis.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, he's been known in the Ute, and he can drive the Ute so good. I'm like, I just kind of stay doing that. The Ute's got a winner's quick change under the back, and it makes it's a BSC engine, I think. It makes whatever.
When you see how they both ended up after LZ World Tour, maybe it's good to switch to a BMW.
Yeah, they're not in the best condition. The whole tailgate is held together with race tape now. You can't fold the tailgate down because there's no tailgate left. It's all sticky tape back together. So it's certainly copped a beating, but look, he might keep one of them as his battle practice car and build the BMW as the pro level car. So we'll see what happens in Jordan's world. But certainly he got the round win, which put him right up there in the points for the Pro-Am category. But who took out the Pro-Am championship was Kieran Rackliff, Mad Dog.
Yep.
So he. We had the wrap-up party at the end of the high-tech round, and, he was celebrating in style, certainly celebrating in style at the party. And he said, I'm absolutely stepping up next year in the pro. I absolutely want to drive with all the rest of them. And I reckon he's absolutely got it in him. So, Jordan's already taken the step up. Sam Mudge was competing in both categories as well. So he's already doing pro. Like, the main sort of top end Pro-Am drivers are all keen to step up into pro anyway. So I think next year's pro category is going to be pretty hectic.
That's going to be awesome, man.
Yeah.
I think.
So check out Kieran, wherever he's thing. It's like Evil R33 is his number plate. And I think it's like Skittles DC, like Skittles Drift Club is part of his thing. But yeah, he's
got a couple of ats. We'll
find them.
They'll be here. They'll be here. Just look there. Down there somewhere. There.
Somewhere.
There. Here.
Yep.
Yeah. Phenomenal driver, man. So coming into the pro podium.
Yeah. Go for it.
So coming in fourth, rounding out the top four, was Roger Ianson.
Yeah. Roger was, very solid competitor all year. He's 2JS15. He's been steering it like an absolute legend. Unfortunately, had a mishap in one of his final battles with Brody Marr. He was coming up against Brody, and I guess both of those guys going into top level competition, basically in the top four, there was no margin for error. Like everyone was going full send, and unfortunately Roger did touch the wall and suck the car around and hit the wall with the S15, so couldn't get it repaired in time to battle again, and that's sort of how he landed. So he landed in P4, but he was a worthy contender all year.
It's an unforgiving mistress, that wall.
So the High-Tech Oils wall ride, it's like you get it right and the photos look amazing because the cars are just blazing past the wall, tyre smoke going everywhere, looking phenomenal. But if you just go too deep and tag the wall, it's easy for the front to just get sucked in and, bend steering stuff. And unfortunately Brody then hit him because it's sort of, he was winding lock the other way, trying to get the car out of it. But the bounce off the wall put him out of line, and then Brody made contact with him as well. So Brody had a pretty wounded car as well. But P3.
Jabbit. Old Jabs coming in third.
Jabs came in third. He had a massive hit. So he came around the last corner in his battle with Patrick Barley. And he came around over the finish line. It was just over the finish line, which saved him. But it was in the marbles where all the rubber runoff was on the side of the track. And the car just skated that little bit more than I guess what he anticipated in the marbles right over the finish line. And it hit the back into the tyre wall, which spun the front around and basically ripped the back and front of the car off and sort of 360'd him around. It only bent a tie rod, which was very lucky, but we had to do a recovery and get him back into the pits. But yeah, he was certainly battling real hard. And it was great to watch. Absolutely epic to watch.
Absolutely. P2, Brody Marr.
Brody, definitely, well deserving of all the battles that he's had in the year. He's been a very fierce competitor. He didn't actually get to battle for the top prize properly because with the contact with Roger Ianson, Roger's car was damaged. He had the 5-minute rule to try and fix his car. He unfortunately couldn't, but the damage sustained to Brody's car in that battle was equally as devastating to Brody. I mean, he bent the coilover, so they just try and straighten the coilover up. They just straightened things as best they could. I think it was the front left. He couldn't actually get past a certain degree's worth of steering because the wheel was like it had, terrible caster, and the wheel was hitting the wheel arch, like the wheel tub. So he couldn't compete properly to try and actually win the round. So what he ended up doing was coming to the line to say, hey, the car is ready to compete, even though it wasn't great. But he could still drive it onto the track and do a lap to say that at least I'm here. But it was literally the last 5 minutes of the day in the last battle, and there just wasn't time to get it all fixed and sorted. So he didn't get to compete against
Patrick Barley. Patrick Barley comes in number 1.
So Patrick Barley gets the round win. Again, real cool, calm and collected. He really does love Calder Park. He actually won the round earlier in the year at Calder Park. So he seems to drive a bit in Calder Park now that he's moved from Darwin down to Victoria. And yeah, I guess, he does a lot of laps on the sim, obviously does a lot of practicing in the digital space as well. And that's what it seems like all the young kids do. They'll go out and spend plenty of time on the sim, and obviously the car is pretty amazing how him and his team have set it all up. So yeah, he drove very well. I would have loved to have seen the Brody and Patrick battle go down to the wire properly at the end. That would have been absolutely amazing. But look, Patrick rocks up to the line with a ready to battle car, and Brody just couldn't do it safely. So look, that's sort of how it landed. So it was still exciting end to the round, but I could have gone a different way, I think. But credit to Patrick, he got the win. It was worth it.
Unfortunately, we didn't get to watch it on the live stream.
No. So I guess because of the scheduling issue, originally the round 5 was supposed to be in Tasmania, and it was going to be on the same weekend as the LZ World Tour. And if you're trying to put 2 major drifting events on in the same day, it's going to get pretty hard for people's time and attention. A lot of the drivers were committed across both, and they just had to reschedule it. So the AV equipment, so they had to change the date, which a lot of people date changes are really hard logistically to deal with. But they changed it from Tasmania to Victoria as a Calder Park round. But the live stream truck and everything was already booked for another event that weekend, and it just couldn't happen, unfortunately. So it was all still recorded for TV like it normally is. So it will be on SBS towards the end of this month. So this is November now. If you're watching this, it will be on SBS Speed Week coming up. So they've taken the footage away from the weekend. Obviously, we got some epic drone footage. We've got all the normal footage. We've got our, interviews, all that bits and pieces. We've just got to do the edit and the post-production stuff, and that'll be on Speed Week for you guys to check out.
So wrap us up. Who took the chocolates?
So when you look at those top 4 drivers, right? So Roger came 4th. So run through it again. Roger, James, Brody, and Patrick. All 4 of those drivers were in contention for the championship. So to get a top 4 where all of them could have won the championship, it really did come into who landed in what position. So in first place in the Zoo Performances Pro-Am, sorry, my mistake, I'll give them the right plug. Zoo Performance Pro-Am, in the Drift High-Tech Drift All-Stars Pro category, it was James Abbott who won the championship by 3 points. Brody Marr came second by 3 points. And that could be the difference between your qualifying position at one round. It could have been the difference between first and second at one round in the year. Like, it was so close. And then Patrick Barley come third, and I think that was 7 points. So between the top three guys, there was 7 points between them, which was just phenomenal.
That is insane. When you look at the first round that Brody Marr had, if he had have been able to properly compete at that round, number one.
Get a top 8.
Number one.
Yep. If Brody didn't have the diff failure and all those sort of things, you know, he had a really challenging round one. He would have gone back to back.
He had a throttle
Take
body.
nothing away from.
He had a throttle body failure too.
So
what the hell?
Yeah. Diff and throttle body in the same weekend. I'm like, man, that's real unlucky.
Yeah.
But Jabs was consistent and a solid competitor all year, and that S15 is absolutely dialed. Like, it's one of the most angriest cars on track, and he's just so chill. Like, he's just such a chill driver. He doesn't actually go into a battle like G'ing himself up. He's like, yeah, cool, got this, and he just goes warp speed down the track and throws it at the wall. He's an absolute psycho. I love watching him drive. It's so much fun. But that's just how close it was. Jabs didn't actually get any round wins, but he was always sort of in the top half a dozen at every round. And I guess when your car's consistent, your driving's consistent, that's what it takes to win a championship. You've got to go to every round, and you've got to have everything all sorted to be able to win a championship. And they did very well. Yeah,
absolutely. Well done. Well done to Jabs. Yep. 3 points, man.
Yeah.
What?
Crazy. And I think, Jordan was wherever he landed, and obviously Patrick and only 4 points behind Brody. And I'm like, it was so close at the top.
Yep.
Crazy.
So
Loved
good.
it. So crazy.
Man. So good.
Yeah. So that was the weekend just gone. There was also a wet pan day from DC.
I think that's just one of their normal wet pan days. So I think they're around. They've probably gone up a little now, so don't quote me, but around the 150 mark to get yourself in on the wet pan and get yourself skidding around, which is really cool. Super grassroots, super enjoyable. These are one of those days where you don't need to be stressed about whatever anyone around you is thinking, because they're all in the same spot. And they're just really cool, chilled days. You'll meet people there that will go above and beyond to help you out if you have any dramas.
How's that for a weekend? So Queensland Raceway, Rev GP, High Tech down in Victoria, and DC in Sydney, all on the same weekend. There is plenty of drifting going on. That's just the first weekend in November. Amazing. I guess coming up, there is...
And I guess coming up next is Drifting SA Comp Series, round 4 and 5, double header, is that right?
Yeah, at the Bend, they've got both rounds joined together. So I think, across the 2 days, they're going to do the two different layouts, and it's going to be the season finale for those guys, which is pretty hectic. There's a lot of killer drivers over there in SA. I'm keen to see the content for that one.
That's awesome. And that is the 11th and 12th of November?
Yeah, spot on. 11th and 12th at the Bend.
On the 12th of November, we also have DC Drift Nights on the Figure 8 at Sydney Motorsport Park. So that'll be a cool one. Again, sort of grassroots stuff where people get to go and spend a good bit of time on the Figure 8 and hone their craft.
Figure 8's cool as well. It's like elevation change and all the different things. I'm going to put that on my list. I'm going to drive there as well.
It gets a bad rap, but it's pretty good. It can get tight and technical. You got the big sweeper. You've got elevation changes. So there's a lot going on there, and a lot that people don't realise. They think it's just a flat 8. It's not. That's cool.
So next one after that is the 17th of November, and that's back at Calder Park with the Keeper Eat crew on their normal Friday night drift party. So definitely one to check out if you're in Melbourne on that weekend, or on that Friday, sorry. So it's from 5 o'clock in the afternoon all the way till 11. There's just food trucks, music, great vibes. Sit up on the hill, grab a t-shirt, grab some merch or whatever, and cheer on the drivers. And they're just sending cars all night. Usually about 40-ish drivers, maybe a little more. Very cool.
Very cool night. Coming up next is the 18th of November, the Drift Cadet Drift Pack School at Calder Park also.
Yeah, so Drift Cadets we got Friday Night Drift from Keep It Reet on the Friday. On the Saturday is the Drift Cadet crew doing, is it Saturday or the Sunday? Yeah, no, it must be Saturday. They've just got a practice day using the FD layout in the Thunderdome. And they're running Thunderdome practice on one side, and then on the other side of the dome, it's like an entry-level school sort of thing. So you bring your own car, and there'll be instructors there to help out with school sort of just teaching drills and techniques and stuff. So that's pretty cool. Normal sort of Drift Cadet vibe, which is always a lot of fun. Family-friendly event.
Same day we've got a bit going on the 18th. We've got D1WA with their Give It a Go. Which is at Carco Raceway.
Carco, is that the new name for Barbagallo? Is that how they call it that? I think that's what that is. Yeah, I thought so. when I Googled Barbagallo Raceway, I'm pretty sure it comes up as Carco, so maybe they are a new main sponsor or something's happened. We'll report back. We'll find out.
Look, they're so far away from us, we have no idea what's going on over there. Guys, in Western Australia, help us out. Throw me a freaking bone here.
Threw me a freaking bone here. So I think Carco was Barbagallo. I think Carco's a sponsor, or maybe they've changed the name.
We'll go with that until we're proven otherwise.
Yeah, we'll get some hate. The haters will sort it out for us. Yeah.
Thank you, haters.
Appreciate you.
All right. Also on the same day, we got AusDC again with Super Drift Round 3. And this is all on the 18th, Super Drift Round 3 and AusDC Drift Nights on the wet pan as well. So they're going to have a very busy night.
Yeah, so the crew itself are going to run wet pan over that side, and then
over here and
round 3 figure 8.
And over here, yeah. I'm going to definitely try and do my best to hopefully help out with Super Drift Round 3 because they've got so much going on. Just depends on how things work out for me. So,
yep, awesome. So Keep It Reet also are running a drift school event. So they've, with their relationship with Calder Park, they're hiring the track on some of the more quieter days during the week and running drift school. So they'll have some instructors there. You'll bring your own car along, and it's a chance to learn to drive without the high pressure environment of their thousands of spectators up on the hill, which can be a little bit intimidating. So on the 20th, they're going to have a Keep It Reet drift school. But check out Keep It Reet's website and all the other teams, businesses as well, Drift Cadet, on their socials, on their websites. That has all the schedules. But yeah, Keep It Reet do have a drift school coming up in November.
Where were we at? Drifting SA Locktoberfest in November.
Well, I've heard a lot about this event. It's usually in October. That's why it's called Locktober. But scheduling and dates and just things didn't work for whatever reason. And it's in November this year. But it's a 3-day event at the Bend. And they run, I think, 2 different layouts a day. So I think it's 6 different layouts. I think it's hectic.
My God.
It's one of their most epic driving fun weekends, that lots of layouts and lots of drivers. So the Locktober Fest. Coming up at the end of November, 24th, 25th, 26th of November. And then on the 26th, yeah.
Yep, I guess to round the month out, we've got AusDC Drift Nights again on the figure 8. Again.
Excellent. Just as a practice night, I think, is that one?
Yeah,
that's just
a practice
fun drift night.
Yep.
So there's drifting in South Australia twice that we can see. There might be some X-Park days in there. We'll have to message James and see if he's released those. But there's drifting twice, 2 major events in South Australia. There's a couple of Keep It Reet events in Victoria. There's already been High Tech in Victoria, Rev GP up in Queensland. WA's got stuff going on. Sydney at Sydney Motorsport Park's going on. I think there was Tassie. No, Tassie's in December. Yeah, we'll talk to you about that next month.
Yep.
Tassie have got something going on as well. They've got their final jam for the year with the ISD guys in December, but we'll talk about that soon. November has a heap of drift going on in every state, which is amazing.
How good. We often talk doom and gloom when it comes to drift in Australia, but just by the hour that we've just spent, and I apologise to everybody watching, the next episode will not go for an hour, but there's just been so much. There's been so much going on. It's been insane.
Yeah, so heaps going on, lots of drifting. It's great. I think when you pile it all together like that, it's like, wow, we actually do have a really good drift scene in Australia. It's just, I guess, everyone sort of has been previously living in their own state, doing their own series. But maybe this is an opportunity after you've watched this episode or watched future episodes, maybe reach out to some of the people we've spoken about. Obviously, we'll try and add as much detail into the bottom of this clip as possible. So maybe reach out to some of the drivers in a new state. Go, man, can I come and crash on your couch and drive one of your events? Like, that'd be sick. If you build a network all over the country, it's going to make traveling around the country and going to different events that much easier because you're going to have some help in all the other states. And I don't think there's a single drift person that I've met who hasn't offered me a couch at least, or a workshop to work on my car, or somewhere to store my stuff, or whatever. Like, the network around drifting is absolutely amazing. So certainly reach out to your mates all over socials, and we want to do a lot of traveling with this sport. It's really, really good fun. Absolutely.
So I guess with that, Tony, let's wrap it up, mate. We'll get on out of here. I don't even know how we wrap it up. It's been unreal. It's been flat out. It's been phenomenal. It's been an absolute whirlwind.
Yeah, if you've watched this first episode, thank you. It's a bit bare bones at the moment. Obviously, we're just doing it from our houses and our garages. We're adding more and more data to our spreadsheet as we go, so we're giving you as much information as possible. Please share if you've got stuff going on that you want to share with us. That'd be amazing as well. We really appreciate you for tuning in. If you've lasted the hour and a bit, we absolutely appreciate you. Tune in next time. Follow us on the socials. So where can you find us? If you've stumbled across us in the magical world of YouTube or whatever, you can certainly find us on the normal socials as well, TikTok, Instagram. And you can catch up with Heath on the podcast, so you can listen to other different things that he's got going on with the drivers from all over, and personalities from all over. You've had people now from here, from New Zealand. You've had people from all over, and that's getting some traction too. So check out the podcast as well, which is very cool.
Cool. I guess with that, guys, thank you so much for watching. Tony's kind of wrapped it up really well there. We do appreciate the hell out of you. Share it around, share it with all your friends. Media people, contact us, please. We need as much media people as we can. We want to talk to you. We want to get your names out there. We want to get your stuff out there. And I guess to wrap it up and finish off, I'm going to leave you with this little bit of a montage that I put together from the LZ World Tour. Ta-da!
Ta-da!
See you guys.
Till next time.